This is the Other 22 Hours podcast. Hey, and welcome to this week's episode of the Other 22 Hours podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Shafer-Haiss.
And I'm your other host, Michaela Anne, and we are on episode 128. This week, we're featuring our conversation with the UK band Flyte.
Yeah, Flyte is the songwriter duo of Will Taylor and Nick Hill, who both met as wee lads, as they would say, at a council-run theater camp, one that was more so for their parents to get them out of the house on the weekend than actually musical theater nerds on their account. But from there, they played in separate bands and eventually started writing songs together. Their first record had a song that kind of got a bunch of traction over in the UK, and they signed to Island Records, which they've put out a few records with them, some of which are produced by Glyn Johns. They are critically acclaimed, and they've collaborated with people like the Staves, Marling, Madison Cunningham. They are working on or have worked on a musical in London, as well as writing for other artists.
We talked a lot about songwriting in this conversation, more so than other episodes, I think. We talked about the intimacy of collaboration, writing itself being outlets for emotions that are more generally culturally repressed, specifically in the way that where they are from and how they were brought up, as well as the nuts and bolts of writing for a record. It was like a bit more kind of craft heavy, but we also got to talk about being on the conveyor belt of the major label industry side of music, what a detriment that can be, and finding your way back to your own path and the bravery it takes to be yourself and make the records and the songs that you want to make.
Yeah, maybe we spend so much time talking about songwriting because we've been listening to a new podcast that our friends at the Bluegrass Situation told us about. It's called Finding Lucinda, and it follows singer-songwriter Ismay while they trace the roots of their musical hero, our musical hero, everyone's musical hero, Lucinda Williams. Ismay takes a road trip from Texas to Louisiana to here in Tennessee to meet Lou's early collaborators and dig through family archives and visit places that Lucinda got her start. They have conversations with Charlie Sexton, Buddy Miller, Mary Gaucher, who is a past guest of ours here. And Finding Lucinda is available on the Bluegrass Situation podcast network, wherever you listen, which is probably right here where you're listening to us. And in addition, there is a Finding Lucinda film that is coming out this season, fall of 2025.
Yeah, and before you finish this episode, we would so greatly appreciate if you would go to the link in our bio and check out our Patreon. Patreon is the one and only place that you can financially support this podcast. Even for a small endeavor like ours, it does have a financial cost, and we greatly appreciate help in sharing the toll of that financial cost. Some of the questions in each episode come from our patrons. They get early access to find out who we will be interviewing, and that community is ever evolving, and we really appreciate that support.
And if hearing about that Finding Lucinda film excited you and you are a visual person, we too are in the visual medium. We are on YouTube. All of our episodes are there. We have playlists of topics that you can search through to find one of the 127 other conversations we've had. And we invite you to dig through all of them. Spend a lot of time with us. But without further ado, here is our conversation with Will and Nick, better known as Flyte.
Well, thank you then for taking time out of your rehearsal time, preparing.
We're done. We're finished.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
End of day.
Yeah.
Great. How many hour rehearsals do you guys do?
We probably spend about 8 hours a day, maybe 10,
Yeah.
because it's expensive to rehearse. So, to get it all like fired up, get the engines fired up. So you got
For
to
sure.
make the most of it.
Do you like rehearsing?
Yeah. I mean, it's not as much playing as you'd think. It's a lot more like admin, like making sure the cables are all working and
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
and making all the pedal board all neat. A lot of boring stuff, really. Once we actually managed to get playing about 40 minutes ago.
Oh, nice.
But tomorrow we'll come in early and we'll like play all day and it'll be great.
Yeah. Are you guys doing like tech and production rehearsals then too? Do you guys travel with front of house and monitor and all that?
This is very much like a tech. We're here in the land of Marshall Stacks for a tech rehearsal. We have our own little humble space back in Hackney where we live, where we'll like get the band together and figure out what everyone's playing. And yeah, this is a lot of tech stuff.
We both love Hackney.
Yeah.
It's our favorite part of London.
You're saying the right things. Where are you guys right now?
We're in Nashville, Tennessee.
So you guys are 4 records in, right?
As of Friday, yeah. As of last Friday.
Okay.
Yeah, congrats.
Thank you. Thanks.
Can I ask how old you guys are?
I'm 34.
Okay.
I'm around that age.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's holding back.
You guys have been friends since you were kids, yeah?
Yeah, since we were like prepubescent in like a council-run musical theatre like company.
Wow.
Oh, I love that.
Not that we were like prominent child musical theatre actors. We were just like children that our parents were trying to get rid of on a Sunday and give them some space. Like, do this.
Yeah, here, check this out.
Yeah.
Have you guys been making your own music together for about that long?
No, so the story with Nick and I is that we were actually in different bands as teenagers. And then we pincered together when we were kind of in our early 20s.
Yeah, moved to London.
Yeah.
It worked out.
And do you guys consider each other friends still?
No.
Or does like having to run a business
talk
together?
or interact.
Yeah. This is all for show.
There's like a glass screen here that you can't see.
Yeah. We're the best of friends, yeah. And it's amazing how that can somehow sustain itself. I think that bands, like as in 3 to 4 piece, and onwards, so hard to have a kind of an equilibrium, a kind of a good balance. You can certainly have one, but very difficult for all the elements of life not to throw it out of whack eventually. But there's something about 2 people is something manageable about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I take it then you guys hire out the band from there, or have you worked with the same people for a while?
I was just waving just then to Blackaby. He was just leaving. He's got a guy called Will Blackaby. He's mainstay in the Flyte live band. And he's a great artist too. He's just called Blackaby. And
He's just got a new drummer too.
Yeah, Blackaby, he's kind of on the keys and guitar, and he's the kind of utility guy. And he's got a beautiful voice, so he can harmonize with me and Nick, who harmonize a lot together already. And then we've the new live member. We were just talking about you. Yeah.
All good stuff, don't worry.
The new addition is a guy called Roy Lowe, who was a family friend of mine, actually. He's a young guy, he's 20 years old. I met him at my mum's wedding, and he was an old nipper. He was a little, 14-year-old or something with scruffy little ginger hair, but has been drumming since a little kid. His dad is an artist called Nicolas.
I've met Nick before. We both put out records on Nettwerk, the indie label in the US. So I met him at a party at the label head's house in North Carolina. We talked a lot about Italy because I lived there when I was in high school, and I guess he likes to vacation there a lot. But he was wonderful and so lovely and kind, and his whole band was.
That makes sense. I mean, he's a beautiful man. And so is Roy. And he's got his dad's musical genes, obviously, but also was playing with a bunch of old codgers in a skiffle band when he was 11. So he's got this extraordinary level of kind of musical connection to almost anything. So he's just slipped in so naturally and perfectly, and he sings too. So we've got our kind of 4-part harmony thing that we very much had on the first record. So we're able to cover all of the 4 records, really. We've kind of got everything we need now with those 4. And our guy, Bob Ledbeater, who's been working the last 5 years out of Real World Studios, that's Peter Gabriel's studio in the West Country. He used to be our sound guy, and then he got gobbled up by Real World Studios because he's so handy. So he's been there maybe chained to the radiator, just fixing desks, fixing consoles, fixing tape machines and stuff. And he's finally left that job now. And so we got him back, and he's come back with a vengeance. He's built all our amplifiers. He's built our pedals. He's built the DIs. We're putting the bass and the acoustics through. And it's all sounding just, it just feels like we finally
got the thing that we've always wanted to have.
Yeah, just this lovely musical, organic cohesion,
Yeah, that helps. I've seen pictures of that control room, and it must take a lot to get somebody out of there because it's completely unreal.
Oh, God, yeah. We were doing a masterclass for Berkeley students with Ethan Johns and Glyn Johns too, maybe 2 months ago. And we'd actually never been there before.
Beautiful summer's day, just in that place.
It's ridiculous. Fuck off. No. Swans everywhere, and they have like a French man cooking the meals all day long for free.
Yeah. So that's something that I kind of wanted to touch on. You guys being from the UK, and I would assume touring predominantly there and in Europe. When we're over there, the level of just kind of baseline level of hospitality on that side of the Atlantic is much higher.
We have a different take on that.
Okay.
Well, certainly when you're in mainland Europe, as in not the UK, it really feels like that. The Germans, the Dutch, Swiss, everyone, they just have I think they consider the quality of life like a basic human kind of right. And there's you should have a nice meal. You're here to perform to
You've
what
traveled.
You've traveled, must be tired, you must be hungry. You get to Birmingham in the UK and
it's like a packers of Walker's crisps and 4 warm Carling.
And they throw the crisps in your face.
Yeah.
One moldy banana.
Yeah. No, and maybe it's gone a little better than that, but we certainly felt when we'd been around America for the first, it was quite a while ago now, but we did quite a sort of extensive run of the States and then came back to the UK to carry on in the UK on the road. And it felt to us like the opposite of what you said, like a stark reversal of that. Like, I mean, hospitality is interesting. I think more just a bit mingy, isn't it, here in the UK? It's just, oh, God. There's nowhere nice to eat. There's a kebab house again. And, you know, and like, I say Cardiff disparagingly.
We love Cardiff.
Nothing against Cardiff or the Welsh. But like, I would extend that to almost everywhere in the UK. It's just like, oh man, everything's gotten so grotty.
Grey.
Yeah. But we were at the 9:30 Club and we were at like Meow Wolf and we were at kind of interesting, cool places, I think, on that trip. So maybe it was
sense of adventure, maybe.
Like touring in America, I feel like is informed by what size club and venue you're playing. But I feel like in the small club world, the UK feels very similar to America of just like, maybe they probably didn't fulfill your rider. You're not going to get a meal. I remember when I toured Scandinavia for the first time, I was like in shock that they provided like a nice meal and hotel rooms. I was like, wait, what? I don't have to pay out of pocket and like every single night of this tour. But also the US is so massive that, I mean, touring the West Coast to me feels like the conditions can be anything because it's just so beautiful that it's like fine versus touring parts of, I don't know, Toledo, Ohio comes up for me of a historically bad place to tour. So it's different. You don't go to Toledo. But being a professional musician, there's so many different compartments and phases of like the home time where you're writing, if you write at home, the in the studio time, the promotion time, the album release time, the touring time. And you guys are kind of in the thick. We typically say for this podcast that we prefer to talk to people when they're in the kind of off-cycle time.
Publicists hate us.
But publicists reach out to us when you're in promotion time. So you're kind of in the time that like we try to talk to people in the opposite time of this. But can you speak to what this period of just putting a record out, preparing to be on the road, what that feels like for you guys? Is this a specific time of the cycle that you love? How does touring impact you personally and what that is like in this particular moment for you?
When we're in the downtime bit, we should come back on because, you know, we can cut out the middleman this time.
Oh, yes, please.
I like that premise and I completely understand why you prefer that. And I completely understand why publicists hate you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the phase we've just been through, as in like the purely promotional, you know, we haven't traveled and we haven't really gotten, you know, save for some, you know, like an album party we did and the odd thing here and there. We haven't really been getting out in front of crowds either. So we've been kind of in that little chunk of time when the tour is coming up. The record's been made. We would love to have been writing new songs and being inspired and exciting in this bit, but really there's no space in your head for it because you're just doing everything that comes with putting a record out, promoting a record. And my aversion to that is really down to like I think the diminishment of love for the thing you've made because you're having to think about it. I guess I'll give an example. It's like you made this album and you made it purely to make a record. And when you're taking it home and listening to it or you're playing it to a friend, you're playing a whole song and then you might play another whole song. Or maybe you'll play it, you might sit down and listen to the whole record. And the minute you start promoting it, you just hear these little 20-second, 10-second clips of what you've made. And suddenly the value of everything just sort of plummets. And it sort of becomes this sort of chunk of content. And
yeah, you have to say goodbye to the art and the thing that you love.
Yeah.
Like, here you are, Wild.
And say hello.
It's a social media thing that we did to promote this song. It's a bit soul destroying.
But I do think that once we get on the road and on Wednesday, that will all be kind of washed away because we'll be suddenly in front of people playing in a long form way. And we're playing purely to our own audiences. We're doing 50 shows in a row. You know, they'll all be headline shows. They'll all be the same gig over and over. You know, we're not on a backing track or we're not using any strict sort of set rules, you know, so we can improvise a lot. We can be incredibly loose and creative and we'll return to the art. It's just that in-between thing where you kind of go, well, how many digits are on this play count and how many people engaged with that 15-second clip of that bit of that song, and what's the most like effective 15 seconds in that song. And oh God, should we have thought about what the most effective 15 seconds would have been while we were making the thing?
Oh my God.
It's like, and obviously all of that is sort of version of mania, but I'll be glad to leave that little phase behind. And I must say, that is kind of the prevailing feeling of that bit we've just come out of.
I think the best bit is when we're in the downtime and we just go into the house and we just, every day we just get together, we just spend 4 hours. And if we write a song, we go to the pub and celebrate. And if we don't, then we go home and we try again tomorrow. It's an absolutely lovely time to do it.
The swelling feeling of that seasonal shift of creative times, the promise of the new is returning.
Yeah.
Do you guys write like that exclusively, like always together, or is it start separate and bring in and go from there?
This last record, certainly, we were really getting together like a 9 to 5 almost, but more of a kind of 11 till 4. Because we try not to spend too long chasing the dragon on that creative feeling. And the longer we've done it together, the shorter the time is allocated to the working day. Not out of laziness. I mean, obviously out of laziness, but no, out of like learning. But anyway, the kind of like evenings for me, if Billy, my partner, Billy is a touring musician, so we'll be away a lot of the times and we live together. So there'll be a kind of an empty flat sometimes, full of guitars, sometimes kind of confusingly tuned guitars. And it's in the evening maybe that Nick and I are meeting up regularly, that sometimes like little magic things happen. But it's really a co-writing thing, absolutely. And we write for other people too. And we have other projects. We're kind of working on a West End musical project as well. So there's lots to get together and do. And it feels a bit more Tin Pan Alley-esque these days, which is nice.
Do you guys approach those outside writing projects and musical projects as Flyte or as individuals writing together, if that makes sense?
Bit of both. Yeah, I mean, we didn't put our name on the play, did we, as Flyte? We think we put it as our individual names. With the play, we just don't want it to be like, band does play.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we're just wanting to do this, this has nothing to do with like, same with the co-writing, because we haven't done that kind of get a publishing deal and climb the ladder of the writing room thing, which I know is a big thing in your town. When we do jobs, it's often because people liking the Flyte records. So we do kind of go in as Flyte a little bit,
Whether you use Flyte publicly, but like for yourselves, are you able to put behind you that experience of writing together for Flyte, for this project that is your musical thing, and write past that? Or does it always kind of come from the same spot?
I think we're not like exercising a different muscle, really.
When people write with us, they come to Will's flat and we just do it like we always do it.
Yeah.
In our most comfortable state. And, we don't use any computers or anything. It's just sort of guitars, voices, or pianos and voices. And just sort of, you write a song, you finish a song, and you don't go home with a demo. You just go home with a song.
Publicists hate us. Publicists hate us.
Yeah.
There was one project that I'd done early this year in Norway with a pop artist called Sigrid. And that was like very different. Nick wasn't there. And there was like a MIDI keyboard and a laptop and stuff. And I definitely like learned how fish out of water I am in that situation. But like we learned a great deal. And every time Nick and I or I have gone into a situation like that, it's just cemented how important we feel our process is, which is to put song first and then production second.
I'm always so fascinated about co-writing relationships and just the intimacy of songwriting when you write together. And sometimes that intimacy can come very easily with people that you don't have a relationship with at all. Like if you just have a writing friendship or, there's almost like a safety in digging deep because there isn't like deeper knowledge of each other outside of just the writing room. And I'm curious for you guys, I've read, especially your current record is very personal, and the interviews I read was talking about like self-work and stuff. And I'm wondering how that plays out in your approach to writing together when you guys are friends within the context of writing for your soul satisfaction and your internal work, and also being a band that is a business that is going to try and sell it. Is that ever a thought, or does it just naturally come from we write as a way to self-investigate, self-synthesize, self-express? Are those ever conversations, or is it just kind of an organic process for you?
Incredible question. Many layers to that question. I think a pretty straightforward answer, which is that we're not really saying anything out loud. We're certainly not thinking about what or why or what for. It's just what comes out, really. If there was a different thing that came out, we would say that's what it is. But pretty powerless, I'd say, in the writing phase.
Okay.
I think we spoke about this a few days ago about the kind of a need, really, when the good stuff's coming. I mean, there's a reason we're named after, a character in a very stuffy English novel that we love. It Remains of the Day, or kind of Jane Austen and all that stuff so much. It's because that's maybe where our MO lies. It's just like complete, utter British emotional repression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's really our only opportunity is songwriting.
Ooh.
Sometimes we won't know what a song is about until it's finished, or even 6 months to a year later. And it's like, oh.
Yeah, because it was so
what was it? Was so
deeply shoved down.
Is that something that reveals itself in the studio, or is that something that might reveal itself in the phase that you're heading into now, when it's like night 10 of a tour and you're in the middle of the song and you're like, oh, this is what it's about?
I think sometimes we might have been that slow.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's years, and it's like, sometimes it takes on a different meaning about something that's happening to you now. It's like, well, it's kind of amazing. And maybe it had less of a meaning when you actually wrote it. It's an interesting thing.
I think that's the sign of a good song, if it's prophetic and it can adapt in terms of what it means to you. But I do think that also there are some very clear and blatant things that one is feeling and that a song is required to tell you.
I'm fascinated by just how context and culture and all of the variables around us, how it informs our own creative practices. And like that you said, being specifically where you're from and the culture that you're from, that it's like emotional repression. So that songwriting is your chance to connect and express these feelings. And that sometimes you don't even know. How conscious of that are you guys? Or is that also something that you don't want to talk about that much? Like in the kind of context of emotional repression of like, let's leave it in the songs. Let's not talk about the emotional process of the songs or the really underlying emotion that's being expressed in the song.
We're articulating it to you now, so it's not a mystery. We're not in denial or anything, and I go to see a weekly therapist and very interested in self-help and improvement. And I had a very difficult background in lots of ways. So there's just like a lot of practical things to just stay on top of. I'm very aware of all those things. Yeah, and we've been writing songs since we were little boys. Maybe because of that, and it's just a very familiar coping mechanism. Even after all that, it's still just very difficult to actually feel difficult feelings and lean into them and actually be present in them, or even sometimes understand what emotions are kind of sat there right at the forefront. There's a particular sense of arrival and value and satisfaction when we do put the music out and we feel like, in our community, people similar to us are able to feel seen or helped as well by just hearing whatever it is that we're articulating. People will occasionally, they'll tell us that, it has helped for them. And so when that happens, it feels like, God, it almost feels like, the sixth sense at the end, the way to get the ghosts to stop being scary is to actually talk to them and listen to them. That's the same thing really, isn't it? It's like, or you go, if you've had a bad dream as a little kid and you go and share it with your parents and tell them what happened in the dream, then suddenly it stops being scary. It's kind of like that with the songs and the sharing. We were never going to be those kinds of writers that withheld things or, made music and then didn't really put it out. It was a lot to do with putting it and sending it off into the ether.
Yeah, one thing I like to say is mold grows in the darkness. It's like if you keep things kind of tucked away, it's just going to continue to fester and multiply and pervade everything. But you kind of also just touch on something, just another little question. How much of your writing output ends up in the trash can and how much ends up out in public?
Barely any lands in the trash. We're not super prolific. We don't write that many songs. But we try, when something good comes along, we know. We go through sort of what we call it the harvesting or something, where we kind of like start an idea and instantly we know about an hour later, like, we shouldn't pursue this. When we know, and we just sort of, we don't pursue the thing. We write 12 songs for a 10-track album, I think, and 2 of them.
Yeah. If Nick and I had written 10 songs, we go, great, we've got an album.
Yeah.
And we'll go and record it.
Yeah.
I think that there's that other way I've seen people do it where they're like, got 40 songs in a Dropbox folder. And then they'll be like, I haven't got anything yet though. I haven't got an album yet. Like, how have you not got an album with 40 songs? It's like, maybe do less then and do them better.
This question is so fascinating because we've interviewed over 120 conversations or something. And, we've talked to Dan Reeder recently.
We just saw that, and I wanted to ask you about Dan Reeder. We're huge Dan Reeder fans.
Yeah.
Okay. Dan is amazing. And he was just like, someone asked me to write a song every day. And I was like, why the fuck would I do that?
I mean, the way he explained it, he's like, you're striving for mediocrity at doing that. Like it's guaranteed when you're focusing on quantity over quality.
But there are other incredibly successful songwriters like Rodney Crowell or Mary Gauthier, who all shared how much they wrote, that they would maybe like write 100 songs and 40 would be okay.
Well, even Dan said that it's about 10-1 on songs that he writes versus what is released. He's a painter, as you guys know. And so he's like, it's a lot like my painting. Like I work really quickly. I know if it's working or not. So like, I think he's counting like the little scraps and tails that you were just saying. Like after an hour, we know like this isn't good. Put that as a tally of a song that doesn't make it.
Someone gave me quite early on like the advice of finish the song no matter what. And I actually don't like that advice.
Yeah. See, it's from what you're saying, it's not my taste, but I heard Ed Sheeran say that in that his viewpoint is you need to get the shit out so the good stuff can come. We've all been there when a song's not working. It's like, it feels laborious to finish it. He's like, just keep going, finish it, push the block through the pipes, and then there's room for the good stuff to come through.
I think for us, we've struggled sometimes to write songs, the lyrics of songs, and sometimes we can really be up against it, but we know that it's good. That's why we persist. And then when we finish that song, suddenly another song will just come.
Yeah, I think a good example of that on like our third album when we were writing Matt, because we gave ourselves a much longer space, more like 6 months and say like solidly writing to write that third album. And there was a song called Tough Love that was really like giving us grief. We were having to meet up kind of very regularly just to bash it out and prod around in every dark corner, see how we could get that song to work. And in the act of doing that, other songs spark off. And then there was a song called Even on Bad Days on that album that we did, and it took almost less time than it takes to listen to that song to finish that song. And I don't think there's a qualitative difference necessarily in either of those songs. But if it hadn't been this sort of big juggernaut, tough love mission.
If we weren't exercised, we'd done the workout, and on bad days, it's just free to pop out.
The thing I love about all these different takes is that there's not one way to do it. And some songwriters feel, or artists feel like, what is the best practice for me? But that will be very off-putting and not helpful for the next songwriter. And I think that's helpful, especially for younger artists, to continually hear that, you don't have to fit in, or like there's not some secret path to do it. Yes, you need discipline and consistency and all that stuff, but finding your way is the way. It doesn't have to be the way that it's been done or that somebody else is doing it.
I love that, growing up writing songs from the ages sort of 8 to sort of 16, say, first of all, I never kind of went, I'm going to write songs. I just started writing them. And then I never once was like, I need to read a book or listen to a podcast on like how to write songs. Just being shit for ages and just learning and trial by fire. And I think that's probably what most people are doing. It's kind of fun and interesting and transferable via conversation, the kind of pontificating over the way we write. I think it's massively useful.
Yeah, I think having that space to fail is so important in just about any venture, which like makes me wonder, like, you guys got, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys basically like went viral and then signed to a major label.
Yeah.
What was that experience like on your creativity, on your well-being? Because I can imagine, especially in a situation where like from the industry side, we need to capitalize on this momentum. The match is lit. We need this to turn into a bonfire. Yeah. That's my assumption. Personally, have not gone viral, so I'm speaking only just from stories.
I don't know how viral we went either, to be honest. But like, we had a song called "Faithless" that was on our first record, and we'd written that quite early on. We were really young. We weren't really young. We were in our early 20s, and at that point already, I remember feeling like, I think we might have passed it. We might have dropped the ball and gotten too old. I guess because we've been writing and making, silly little albums after school and stuff. We made 4 albums.
Already like school. 14 years into our career.
Yeah. And taking it really seriously in a pathetic sort of way. And I think that we were quite fully formed in terms of like creative entities at that point. But we had absolutely zero, I'm not going to speak for you, I had zero run-ins with the music industry and had absolutely no idea how it worked. And, there are some artists who were writing with and for, in the last few years who were about the age we were then or even younger and they seem to know how everything works. It's like, well, how do you know how everything works? We just didn't know a goddamn thing, and we had no followers, and we had no, this is late 2013, 14. And there was a different landscape then. There was, in the UK at least, there was a huge bonus on being on the radio, and not just played on the radio, but like on a playlist, put on the BBC Radio 1 playlist.
Yeah.
And if you weren't doing that, then you didn't really have a shot. And Spotify, the streaming was a thing, but I don't think it was being taken hugely seriously, certainly not by the major labels. And we were signed by a major label really early on, and we had a record we could have made. And I wish they'd put us in with a producer like Ethan Johns, who produced our last record, because we were a good band, young and game for it and ready to work. And we had nice 4-part harmony arrangements and had written decent songs at that point, songs we still play. And if they just put us in front of a kind of no-nonsense producer who would have just been like, cool, there's the raw elements of this thing, recorded it and put it straight out, I think it would have been a very different start for us in our career. But what actually happened was it was like, no, everything you're doing is not what we want. Everything you're doing, we won't be able to sell. We need it to be more like this, or we need it to be more like that. Or maybe it's not like this, or maybe you should wear this instead. And immediately you're just confused, creatively confused. And in terms of like how to write songs, I don't know, it's just red herring after red herring I found early on. So it took a second for us to get our bearings, and we put a kind of string of singles out and things and went on a few tours, but we were really figuring everything out in front of people. By the time we put our first record out, the music industry in the UK is you get your shot at the beginning, and you can see if an artist is delivered perfectly to them straight away, they'll be like, brilliant, we'll tick all the boxes for you, we'll put you on a conveyor belt, you'll go straight down, you'll play Jules Holland, and we'll put you on the playlists, and we'll put you out on all these festivals, and we'll make sure you win a kind of Critics' Choice Award or something at the Brits. And we have all the infrastructure waiting and ready for you. And it's almost like the UK has one of those artists per year. It's like, well, okay, Arlo Parks, you'll be that now. Or there was like Jack Garrett in like 2016, or there was The Last Dinner Party last, that the UK has this funny way of just being like, it's this one now. We're going to pile everything into it. And it's like, why would you do that? You're going to like make this person probably have a nervous breakdown, and you're going to probably make the population get a bit sick of that person and kind of want to see a downfall or something and get the next one. I do wish that when there's a young artist that has promise, there was a little bit more trust in being able to just say, okay, you are what you are now. Let's capture that. Let's put that out. We don't have to shove it down people's throats. We'll just put it out. And I think there'll be an audience for you, and the right people will find you, and we'll put you out on the road, and we'll go gently. We'll get you a career. And that is effectively what we did, but inadvertently, and much to the disappointment of our major label and everything we met. It's funny, there's an artist called Matt Maltese. There's my girlfriend Billy, she's called Billy Martin. Another artist called Willie J. Healy. We were all kind of signed around the same time, 2 major labels. And we were all the same. We were all kind of these sort of alternative artists, really. There was no place for alternative artists on major labels in 2014. And we all just about survived being shoved into the wrong spot, and then kept going and persevered. And then I think, and all the artists I just mentioned are all now on 4th, 5th albums and have an audience and stuff. But my God, it could have been made to be a bit easier.
The image that you use of like the conveyor belt is so apt. I mean, that happens here too. It's the commodification of a band.
Well, it's also because they want profit fast.
Yeah, exactly.
The music business is a business. It's not an artistic endeavor. Like, it's not something that is honoring or trusting artists. It's trusting the business people that they think somehow know better than the actual creators to like package and sell. So I think it takes a lot of personal work to then decide, okay, what do I want my path or our path to be, to align with what feels right and also artistic? Or do I want to just do what they say and go on that conveyor belt because I want what I think is success? Then you burn out, the story that we hear all the time of. Then you burn out, and then you're disheartened by everything, and then you have to find your new way. So it's such a challenging balance to be like, I want to survive and be affirmed and make a living, but also I want the space and respect and trust to have my artistic path and like not shove it down people's throat, and also have a life. Have a whole life and relationships. And I'm curious what you guys have found on this path, especially when you are not like playing party music, but like playing introspective, emotional songs, like what you do in your personal lives to kind of fill up your cup, for lack of a better term, to recenter, refuel away from this. whether it's another artistic endeavor or a hobby, or what is your life like outside of this that helps keep it all in good perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a parent too. That's sort of the thing. Sort of takes up all the other space in the life. But I mean, it's an amazing thing. It's an amazing way to sharpen your mind at becoming a parent, because it's like, okay, I have to look after these things. And when I go to write music, it's like, I'm pretty focused on doing the thing. Because it's like, this time is very, very precious to me.
Yeah, really focusing. And I can live vicariously off that as well and feel that.
I can live vicariously through your love.
We have 2 kids ourselves, so yeah.
It's like laser focus. And then I remember shortly after, we have a 4-year-old and a 7-month-old.
Exactly the same as me.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Boys, girls, what's the...
Girl, older, boy.
Same.
Yeah, same.
Exact.
Yep.
Crazy. I remember a friend came to co-write with me, and we just had one of those days, which would have been no big deal before kids, where you don't write a song, you just sit and talk. And I was so anxious. I was like, I do not have time for this anymore. Like, we are paying for my child to be taken care of. This is a work day. We can't be hanging out right now. And it was just such a switch for me of like, oh, I can't bullshit anymore. If we're writing a song, we're writing a song. If we're hanging out, that's a different time that I'm going to account for. I'm not paying for daycare or babysitting for us to just shoot the shit all day. We are doing something, because I could shoot the shit all day a long time. And now it's different.
There's a lot fewer dry days between us.
Because of, I guess, what you just, almost exactly what you just said, that's why we made the last record the way we did. It was the end of last year. We had been working on a totally different project with Madison Cunningham, and then with the musical also. And we had a month or so before the studio that we booked in with Ethan was happening. Mm-hmm. And so we just gave ourselves basically a little less than a month to write the whole thing.
This baby's coming in February.
No time. And just to kind of almost like call back, I guess, to the kind of the repression thing we were talking about and the reveal. It's like, that's the best way to do it. You just completely smoke everything out. You don't even give yourself a chance to think. And we didn't give ourselves a chance to think when recording the record either, because that was an incredibly condensed space of time that we made it in, and everything was live and basically no more than 2 takes. And, and it was just like a shock therapy version of creation. And that was largely due to that kind of just like, can't spend too long away from family, otherwise in trouble, make sad.
Yeah.
It's done the best thing to us creatively. I'm kind of, like doing the opposite and being very connected with friends and with art and films and music and my partner, and kind of, that's why a partnership is great. Mm-hmm. We can kind of make everything come together in those precious moments.
Yeah. Having those limitations and that focus, what I've learned in my experience is like, there are so many points in the creative process that you can tweak endlessly, whether it's on the write, or especially on the recording, on the mix, like all of that. And it gets to a point that's like, once you're doing your due diligence, like, is this song good? Did we capture the song? Is it impactful? Is it moving? Did we do the song justice? Once you cross that general line, to me, any change after that is not necessarily making it better. It's just making it different. When you put these self-imposed, whether it's from a family or, self-imposed, like, we're going to take a month to write this, it allows you to strip away, at least in my experience, that BS. And it's like, no, let's make a decision. Decision serve the song? Great. Are there 8 other decisions that would also serve the song? Yes, but this one does, and it feels good, and it speaks to what I'm speaking to.
And it's the thing that's instinctual that you just first did.
Yes.
Often it's like, let's do that then, because that's the thing that felt right at the time.
And we've also extended that to the recording. We just don't have any demos. We don't have any versions of it. We have no idea of how the song is going to translate as an arrangement or a recording. And when you're in the studio, it's like, this is what's happening now. And that's it.
I love that. And I also love that, like, as then the songs live live on tour and stuff, they might change and shift, and like how exciting that is. We have this version documented, then we get to have this living, breathing version that might shift and change. They're all wonderful. I like that approach rather than do it exactly like we did it on the recording and that's the only way, and keeping it in between the lines.
We do have one question at the end that we like to ask everybody. For each of you, choose your own adventure. It's basically like, what would you tell younger you? What do you wish you knew when you were 18 and just getting started and like, oh, I'm going to do this. This is what I'm doing. Or is there something that somebody has told you along the way that continues to reverberate in your head and kind of fill up your cup?
Oh, God. I'd say to my younger self, try less hard. I think that's my advice for myself. Just stop trying so hard. chill out a little bit.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if that's maybe 100% of all people in their 30s.
Yeah. I can hear it in recordings that I made when I was younger. I was like, I was trying. Listen to me.
I would say, yeah, I'd say the same. It's a sort of stoicism is required, I think, going into the music industry. It's like, yes. I find it with like bands that I think have either considered themselves or have been dubbed or encouraged the act of being dubbed cool. Which I think often comes from a competitiveness. And it's like, just whatever it is that you actually are, please be that as fast as possible.
Yes.
Because that's what everyone wants, including you. It's weird how long it takes sometimes for people to...
But maybe some people need coolness, the cool jacket to put on because they're not very cool.
I don't know if I can...
But I do like the sentiment I'm hearing is like, let's just live a little bit and stop trying to be good, be cool, get things like just...
As you said in regards to the major label, like there's an audience out there for whatever.
If you can be brave in terms of making records, you can be all right with the sound of what you sound like. And you don't have to try and do another take or comp your vocal or edit that bit that was a little out of tune or, whatever. Like that bit will be the best bit. I think the minute you get to that point, then you're really somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Man, thank you guys so much for taking time after such a long rehearsal day to sit with us.
No, it's nice. We needed to blow off some steam with some Yanks.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for sharing and taking the time. It was lovely to meet you both.
Thank you.
So lovely to talk to you guys.
That was amazing.
So nice to talk to some good, civilized people.
Likewise.
Thank you guys.
Take care.
Bye, guys.
Thank you to all of you who subscribe to our Patreon or on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get our show. If you haven't subscribed yet, take a second to do that right now, and we'll see you back here next week.